I now invite you into a time of prayer, meditation, and reflection. These are the words of my colleague, Reverend Edward Atkinson. At this quiet time, and in this place of worship, we would seek to know more deeply what it means to love, to truly love one another. We know so well our own needs. We know that we ourselves need understanding, affection, and recognition. Why is it then that so often we hesitate to extend those precious gifts to others? The cost of a kind word is small. The moment it takes to listen could hardly be used better. A gesture of forgiveness can mark a new beginning. An embrace or a note of appreciation can convey crucial encouragement and comfort at a time it is badly needed. And yet, so often, we fail even within our own families to live by the sacred command that we should love one another. O Spirit of life and love, strengthen our faith. Increase our resolve to give more generously of ourselves. We pray for the courage to take the risks of love. We pray for the insight to see ourselves and others in perspective. Above all, we pray for humility and understanding, that we may always stand ready to forgive and begin again anew. I invite you to join me in silence. I feel words are a little bit redundant after that, so here goes. I ask you to show me some compassion. I also ask you especially for some compassion because I had flu for 7 days over last weekend, so my throat's not the wonderful dulcet tones that you're used to. So didn't need to laugh. You were talking about compassion, and we're talking particularly about cultivating compassion. And I realized when I've been exploring cultivating compassion this month, it's often talked about what gets in the road of our compassion. We started off the month by talking about the struggle we have for self-compassion, how we talk to ourselves in ways we'd never talk to anyone else. And then we talked about compassion fatigue because of the great needs in the world. And then my colleague, our guest worship leader last week, Reverend Terry, talked about how she was able to show more compassion when she was shown respect by others. So I'm going to keep going in this theme because I think for myself I realize one of the things that gets in the road of my compassion is my own judgment of others. Does this person deserve my compassion? When someone asks me for money in the street, are they deserving of that money? Are they going to spend it wisely, in my view? And I suspect most of us have got some judgment around that when we show compassion or care for others. We often talk about who is deserving of compassion and how much should we give them. And this may seem crass to talk about in a religious place. Of course we should be compassionate. But above all, Unitarian Universalist is grounded in our lived experience and reality. So I think we have to face up to that side of us that we may not be that proud of, where we limit our compassion. We can even limit our compassion with our own families as well. And I know we hear a lot of negativity about relationships with family, especially as we move into the Thanksgiving season, like, I'm going to have to spend time with my family. And that was always shocking to me when I came over to the States, because I love spending time with my family. And I suspect many of us do, but it seems to be like an acceptable meme to, complain about family. Some people have great justification in complaining about their family. But sometimes family can also push us to be more compassionate. I want to give you a story from my own life where I realized I was limiting compassion. In the early 2000s, I was living in Potrero Hill in San Francisco, and there was a cafe I really liked to go to there. And over time, there was this man, Charles, was often hanging outside there asking for money. He was usually asking for food. And I remember it always troubled me because I was going in there to buy, at my time, the $3 cappuccino. Seems like a bargain now. But, this person was asking for money, and it kind of always felt like, I'm in there to do that. When should I give the money, when I shouldn't? But then I saw, one of the things I liked about Charles was there was no glib friendliness about him. He was not happy in his situation. He was in a desperate situation. There was not any facade of politeness. You could ask, can you give me some money for food? When you said no, you looked bitterly disappointed. There's no, well, have a nice day. And I kind of respected that element. It was very real. And eventually I started buying Charles some food because I could see him deteriorating as he lived in the street. We tried to get him into shelters for whatever reason. That didn't work. I don't know his whole story. And there was one time I was buying him a sandwich, and I said, let's go into the store, and he came in with me. I said, what would you like? He said, I want turkey and cheese and white bread, none of that other crap. I mean, that sums him up. That's who he was. And then when he was doing it, he grabbed a bag of cookies and a gallon of milk as well. And he put it down, and Natalie, my partner, was with me. So I kind of paid for it, and he kind of gruffly said thank you and walked off. So I walked out, and I was really mad. God, he was so impolite. I can't believe he just grabbed the milk and cookies. And Natalie, my partner, turned round to me and said, I think everyone who needs milk and cookies should get them when they want them. Boy, did I feel bad. Yeah, everyone deserves milk and cookies when they need them. I realized I had all this judgment, and there was an element like, well, I wanted him to be more grateful. I wanted him to be more appreciative. The guy was probably starving. He had no idea where he was sleeping that night. And I was worried about some form of politeness. I think we do limit our compassion because of judgment. And we sometimes need to be reminded, perhaps reminded by a religious community, perhaps being reminded by our partners. Yeah, maybe everyone deserves milk and cookies when they need them. Because it really wasn't a big cost to me, but I was limiting that compassion. And I think we often do give our compassion and give our love, because ultimately compassion is one of our most common expressions of love. And we really hold that we love all people. We have to be compassionate to all people. And we have to have a compassion rooted in fairness, reason, and care for others. And we can care for others when we have the ability to do so, which I always did. And perhaps what religion does at its best, it pushes us beyond our comfort zone, where judgment gets in the way of our compassion and pushes us just beyond where judgment might stop us. The great spiritual discernment I think we all face, it's when we let our compassion override our judgment, and when we need to put bounds on our compassion. Having a great generosity of spirit and healthy bounds on our compassion are part of a meaningful life. Perhaps the key is discerning which side we want to err on. And I hope I can always err on the side of more compassion and less judgment. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our final hymn. Put a little love in your heart.